This Chicago Bears betting preview edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Circus Sports. Circus Sports is giving away $14 million this NFL season. Sign up in Vegas and play from anywhere. Get all the info at circusports.com. We're also brought to you by our Patreon. Score exclusive perks, content, and contests, including our NFL win totals contest with $8,000 prize. Join today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon.
Hey everybody, Jim McMahon here, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Cox. He's one of those guys who will get penetration.
Welcome everyone to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, stacking the money green with my partner in picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer?
Dog. Football. Da Bears. Da Bears.
Da Bears.
Da Bears. Mini Dicka. Da Bears.
Ryan, I'm worried that
Da Bears.
some of our audience, the young whippersnapper degens, might not even know the Da Bears sketch that was really just an all-time classic. Saturday Night Live. Chris Farley with multiple heart attacks. It was just
back when they were
great.
good.
Yeah, back when they were good, dominant. I mean, that 1985 team, Colby and I were breaking down some film of that 85 Bears team. I mean, you look at the teams I think they had two shutouts in the playoffs leading up to the Super Bowl where they, put it on the New England Patriots. It was like what, 41-10 or something crazy.
And tough time for the AFC.
And that was the debut of prop bets because they listed a bet on whether or not the fridge would score a touchdown. And I think it paid out like 8-1. And that was the debut of coming up with interesting Super Bowl prop bets, and gambling's been amazing ever since.
Yeah. I mean, just for reference, they beat the Giants 21-0 that year in the playoffs. The Giants went on the next year to dominate the league and beat the Broncos by like 4 touchdowns in the Super Bowl. So
yeah, no, and they only lost one game that year. I think it was to the Dolphins. Danny Marino having a pretty good game against them. But yeah, it was they were just a dominant team, and what
do you think?
Struggles.
What do you think, Mike?
As of late,
what do you think Mike Ditka would do if he pulled up to a Northwestern car wash?
Maybe he'd leave the windows down. That's the kind of guy Mike Dick is. Hey, speaking of
football guy,
Northwestern, we just taped a bonus college football episode, college football preview with our good boy Philly Steele. That will be dropping on the feed later today, as well as our the 2-a-days continues. We're putting out 3 podcasts today. It is just complete domination. And speaking of us dominating, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. Sign up today. Do your part in the war against corporate gambling. You get Kramer's spreadsheets. You get the bonus episode, the SGP Stories podcast that should be dropping soon. You get access to all the Patreon contests, including $1,000 NFL win totals contest up for grabs. Very fun format. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. Get all the info there. Kramer, let's talk 2022 Chicago Bears.
the Bears.
The Bears.
The Bears.
Not a great run, as you nailed it. I mean, you had them going 3-14, Ryan.
Hold on, Sean, please. This is not something we just say 3-14. We look back at the actual.
They were 2-3.
We look back at the actual quadrants. Here's the best part. I had them starting 2-3. 2-2 in the first quadrant.
See, this is why the spreadsheets are great.
0-4 in the second quadrant. 1-3 in the third quadrant. 0-4 or 1-4 in the final. Wait, no, 0-4, 0-5 in the final quadrant. So
yes, not a good year for the Bears.
The Bears.
Depending on where you're pulling it from, they were 5-11 and 5-11-1, 5-12. Either way, one of the worst teams against the spread. Their win total was 6.5. They went under. Obviously, Kramer, you nailed that. I was slightly above market. I had them going 8 games. The defense was
horrible projection.
The defense was really bad. their DVOA was 30th. Their offensive DVOA was 25th because of Justin Fields' running ability. That was about it. Defensive DVOA 32 by like a wide margin.
Does Justin Fields wear a white ribbon and stand with running backs?
Stand with running backs.
He might have
him and Jonathan Taylor are going to hold out together.
1,100 yards, pretty impressive.
That is. I mean, he had some awesome plays. It's just there's no consistency yet in the passing game. 4th most turnover worthy plays. Yeah.
Somehow he was ranked 36th out of 41 eligible
passers
PFF
in
passers.
PFF. Yeah. When you're pointing out that there's usually 32 quarterbacks, obviously.
Well, there's 32 teams.
32 teams. If you're below 32 at any sort of QB metric, obviously a red flag. Now their estimated wins were 4.9. Their Pythag wins were 5. They were one of the teams that underperformed their Pythag by one of the widest margins last year.
That's what happens when you get to near the edge, right? You're gonna see greater over or underperformance when you get these teams that go all the 3 wins is impossible to project. Yeah. Right. So you're never gonna have an engine that says, oh, a 3-win team overperformed. So I'll just throw that out there because I do think it's worth noting when you're talking about regression with teams that dwell at the bottom or the top, you do have to at least be observant of the fact of how, everyone likes to pretend they're smart and say things like long tail without actually understanding shit. when you have an outlier result, of course it's going to look like it was an outlier result. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
TJ in the YouTube chat pointing out the Bears lost 10 straight to end the game, got swept by the Packers. Justin Fields threw for 200 yards. How many times, Ryan, if you had to guess?
Oh, not man. I mean, his
more than 200 yards.
More than 200 yards twice.
Yes.
Wow. I'm so locked in.
130 yards.
So locked in.
130 yards per game for the old Justin Fields there. Again, obviously the Pythag, they were 1-7 in 1-score games. They really figured out ways to lose, but they were actually kind of lucky when it came to field goal luck, fumble luck, that kind of stuff. So that actually might hurt them if you're looking at overall regression stuff. And they did, in their defense, they did play one of the, I think, hardest schedules in the league.
That's accurate. But
opponents had the highest win percentage last year. But
again, though, when you provide 14 wins to your schedule, you are doing more than your part.
Well, yeah. And looking back at it, I guess it's not a shock that 2022 was kind of a dead year for them. They ate $93 million in dead cap. Most in NFL history, right? So giving your Giants a run for their money.
They were moving forward with the team. It's smart, right? That's how you move forward.
You just kind of have to eat a bad year.
But when you look at their active spending this year, they're still in the bottom 10. Active spending, of course, is like, what are you actually spending on your team? So maybe they're still dealing with a little bit of dead cap situation, but I think, the Bears are one of these teams when you look back, you're like, oh, okay. We're optimistic because Justin Fields is a badass athlete and we got the right. I can't even say that we got the right smart GM, even though his name's Ryan. Shout out to Team Ryan. And for all the people that have sent me the Ryan hangout videos, thank you. I was already aware.
That was pretty fun video.
Yeah,
it's just a bunch of Ryans.
Best part is the name tags all saying Ryan. Honestly, that was the kicker for me. Here. I've listened and consumed probably a half dozen bits of preview content on the Bears.
Okay.
And it is disgusting. The amount of two of these sources acted as if this was a positive outcome last year for the Bears, acted as if they are on the path to building a franchise because everything is smart and makes sense. And I'm honestly confused at that statement because what is smart about trading a 1st-round pick for Chase Claypool? No, that's not smart. What is? I don't want to jump ahead, but so I look at last year and I wonder why everyone is so fucking optimistic. I know I'm a hater, and I even thought I was going to be high on them, Sean. I went back early win totals. I leaned over on the Bears.
The DJ Moore trade for them, I thought was a good trade. I thought they got a decent haul there, but again, to your point, that offsets that really bad Chase Claypool trade.
The haul also includes picks next year.
Yeah.
So like those picks won't help this year.
I think it's a good move for the franchise overall.
Yes.
But again, defense was.
But winning the draft doesn't help you this year. Like winning the draft and getting picks for next year doesn't help you this year.
defense was 32 in EPA per play by like a wide margin. So
don't worry, they signed a couple linebackers. Sean, shout out! I love Edmonds.
I like TJ Edwards. He was fun on the Eagles team. He's a solid, reliable tackler. He's a glue guy that you maybe put in your foundation. He's not like a beam that you can. He isn't the foundation, right? He's like the guy that glues together a couple of things in the foundation. To me, it all comes down to the defense. I do think their passing gets slightly better because it just has to.
What?
But I don't know if
but that's everyone's argument is they were so bad, like they were so close to the bottom, they were so close to the limit of what's possible. They have to bounce back, right? They have to bounce back. Why wouldn't they bounce back? Well, highlight what their big problems were last year.
I think receiver talent.
Definitely I agree with you. I think getting DJ Moore in there is. I think that's going to
be helpful, and I think having some consistency with Justin Fields, another year in the system, that kind of stuff.
Now I don't
think it's going to go crazy, but I do think it's going to be better than last year. I think they're going to have more than 2 games where they pass for 200 yards. That's my prediction.
Because Justin Fields is going to process things faster, holds the ball longer than any quarterback in the league.
No, really, like last year, I liked him as like an outside long shot MVP bet because I like last year is supposed to be the year where you make jump. Ryan, to your point, processing. We saw it with Jalen Hurts. We didn't see it with Justin Fields. We just didn't.
I hate that.
I like his electric playmaking, and I think I mean, dude, the guy made some insane fucking plays where you go, oh my God, look at that. As a guy who started him DFS fantasy a bunch of times, and I still think he has a ton of fantasy value because this defense doesn't seem like it's done much of anything to get way better. Like they haven't really adjusted how bad they were at getting pressure. They haven't really adjusted getting like a top tier. Like why not roll the dice and try and get Bradbury or Darius Slay if the Eagles like toss them a ton of cash. Maybe their approach is almost too long term, but I don't think they did much of anything. I mean, every advanced defensive metric, they're 29th or worse, except they were 24th in explosive run defense. But you could argue like you're not going to have explosive runs when you're running out the clock against this Bears team. So
their pass defense, dreadful. It's like again off the charts. So it's got to bounce back. What if it only bounces back to 31st? They couldn't rush the passer last year. So let's just like thesis, right? Like they couldn't rush the passer, and they didn't have a great secondary. They literally did nothing to address the secondary. So again, it's like, and I hate like we're right now. Like this has got to feel like we're waterboarding J Mark as he sits backstage.
He's waiting in the waiting room, just chomping at the bit.
Listening to
Can't wait to go toe to toe with our points.
He can't see it, but he can smell the steaming shit I'm taking on the Bears.
All right, Ryan, let's enough torture for Justin, aka J Mark. Hey, you know what would be torture for me personally as a gambler? Having an amazing season, picking NFL games against the spread, and not being in the Circa Millions contest. Are you kidding me? Imagine just like dominating your work pool and you win $300. Oh wow, that's fun. I could have won millions and millions of dollars. They're giving away $14 million over at Circa Sports. Circa Millions contest, aka picking 5 games against the spread. Circa Survivor. You guys know how to win an NFL Survivor contest. We're gonna do another NFL Survivor episode where we walk through the grid, take down the NFL Survivor. Again, it's so much fun to get involved in these contests, and it's easy. All you gotta do between now and when sign-up date closes, which is right around opening kickoff there, NFL Sunday. Perfect excuse. Go out in Vegas, sign up. You can play from anywhere the rest of the season. We're going to be there August 24th to the 26th, aka Ultimate Sign-up Weekend. Just head over to circusports.com to get all the details. Circusports.com. Joining us on the line, you know him from the Old Fashioned Football Fantasy Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, Mr. Justin Mark, aka J Mark. What's happening, Justin?
What's up, guys? I don't have like a cat scream like Kramer has. There's no growl. But I got bear down, Chicago Bears. We're gonna fight for victory. That's all I got.
Well, J Mark, you heard a lot of negativity coming out of Kramer and I while we were previewing the Bears. I don't think when we actually walk through the schedule, I don't think I'm going to be quite as negative as Kramer, but I'll admit, like, you know, from our fellow prognosticators in the sports gambling space to Bears fan in general, excitement seems to be pretty high. So give us the optimism surrounding the Bears this season.
So I think what really happened is I told you guys that I was going to take a drink of whiskey to represent old-fashioned football every time either Kramer blatantly dissed the Bears or you brought up the Eagles. To be fair, you only brought up the Eagles once, but that kind of tied in with Edwards.
Yeah.
Well,
and I did mention the Bradbury slay. Maybe
I will say I do have a note. I do have a note here that says once again people unfairly comparing quarterback to Jalen Hurts for some fucking reason.
It's true. I mean, because Jalen Hurts has improved every year as a passer.
Why am I defending Jalen Hurts?
Did you see improvement in the passing game from Justin Fields last season?
I mean, it was really hard to see improvement with that offensive line and the receivers. Everybody leaves out the fact that those receivers couldn't get open to save their lives. Chase Claypool couldn't learn the offense and get on the same page. Darnell Mooney is not a number one wide receiver. I like Darnell Mooney as a wide receiver too, or a slot guy, but he is not a lead receiver on a team. That's what I loved about bringing DJ Moore in. I think one of the reasons, and I've made the same comparison to Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen, what helped them elevate their game. The team started building around him. Josh Allen got Stephon Diggs, Jalen Hurts to get AJ Brown, and look at what he did. Now, I'm not saying Fields is going to make that big of a jump, but I think it's definitely going to help when you have a guy like DJ Moore. And then they did a lot on the offensive line. I think that kind of gets undersold. I know people kind of bitched about the Darnell Wright pick, but I mean, a guy named Will Anderson, I don't know if you guys have heard of him, said that Darnell Wright was the best tackle he had to face. So I think people undersell his talent.
He was my top tackle. Tackles struggle.
Yeah, Darnell Wright, I think, was a good pick. I still think
Andrew Thomas sucked his first year.
Yeah, and I still think, you know, ETR has their offensive line ranked 26. I think they are better than that. But I do think the offensive line probably leans more towards being a running team, and better at the run blocking. And to Kramer's point, even if they are good tackles, sometimes they do struggle with pass protection early on in their career. And I think if the Bears are to have success, you got to lean on that running game and lean on the design run stuff with Justin Fields. Ryan, we're talking draft picks. Let's bring up.
And real quick, worth noting, because I will say this, that I don't know if it was PFF or somewhere else, but Justin Fields also led the league in elusiveness when it came to eluding sacks, but he also led the league in creating sacks.
Does hold on to the ball,
aka running into a sack, like getting himself into a sack where the tackle wasn't at fault. It's just that Justin Fields created it. So, you know, again, it's a mental. I feel like with Fields, it's all about the mind. If the mind can take a step forward, I agree. The body's amazing. I mean, he's a god. He's a. I mean,
Ryan's getting real excited.
Just watching a quarterback run over another man is something it's hard to deny as a man. Watching another man just completely run over a man, that's impressive.
So a couple of the stuff we've already hit on: TJ Edwards, Tremaine Edmonds, trying to seal up the defense there. Did bring in Bobby Tunyon, sneaky pickup there for an anytime touchdown or first touchdown bet.
Paid a lot of money to Cole Kmet, who, by the way, his sister's dating Lucas Van Ness, a Packer. We learned that on the Packers preview. Deonta Foreman kind of filling in for losing David Montgomery. Yeah, I do. But also I thought David Montgomery was solid. So maybe slight upgrade there. Did lose Riley Reif. I don't know. Our offensive tackle Riley Reif. I don't know if that's a huge loss for them. Brought in Gervin Dexter, defensive tackle. Maybe he pops and does something there for the defensive front seven, as well as the Darnell Wright pickup. But as far as guys you brought in or guys you got rid of, who's most exciting for you, Justin?
Well, I think for key departures, you can probably narrow it down to two names: David Montgomery and Nicholas Morrow. Right? Everybody else is like, were they really making a difference? As far as we brought in, I loved a lot of the acquisitions we made, starting with the linebackers, Edmonds and Edwards. Eberflus has said, like, yeah, we agree that our pass rush was not good last year, and maybe we didn't get a game-changing defensive end, but we're going to build this linebacking core and this defense around the linebackers and cornerbacks doing their job, which creates a pass rush. He's had experience building it that way before, and that's what he's going to focus on. I loved taking Roshan Johnson. The Darnell Wright one I already talked about, and then Dexter and Zach Pickens. I think those guys are going to be wreckers in the middle of the line there as far as stopping the run, something we really struggled with. And then just to switch a little bit to fantasy football, Tyler Scott is a name that I'm getting very late, who I think they're going to have him run the ball in sweeps. They're going to have him line up at the slot. He's a very speedy guy that is burning everybody in practice.
How's the slot?
I will say I drafted my first Tyler Scott, Justin Fields team, and I have been reading. Of course, I'm grinding that training camp tape, Sean.
Well, and
he's been showing up.
And speaking of fantasy, obviously everyone should subscribe to Old Fashioned Football, talking fantasy football and whiskey with Justin and his wife Miranda. Now, Roshan Johnson, I know Andrew Robb from the Fantasy Football Podcast has been pounding the table for him.
Hard.
I still think Khalil Herbert kind of undervalued, maybe lost in the shuffle. What do you make of the running back situation? And they brought in Deonta Foreman, so obviously that hurts Khalil Herbert a little bit there. But what do you make of the running back situation for the Bears, specifically for fantasy?
Yeah, fantasy wise, I'm not as high on them because I do think everybody's going to get a touch, right? I mean, you're going to have Roshan, you're going to have Khalil, you're going to have Foreman, and not to mention Fields is going to take a lot of those rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. So fantasy wise, if you can get them late at great value, that's awesome. But Roshan's been going a little bit too high for me personally.
Yeah, it does seem like it's a classic. Oh, this guy's a rookie. He's flashing. And again, people forget with rookie running backs, you have to be able to pass protect to get on the field. And sometimes that takes them a little bit to figure out.
Smart front offices should be taking a new running back every year in the late rounds. And so when the fantasy community hypes them up because of some quality he has, I mean, again, always a red flag when you didn't really even play in college a ton because you were behind Bijan Robinson. But yeah, I mean, to me, Khalil Herbert has shown us he has an ability to find blocks. He did it in college too at Virginia Tech when I watched him, and he just has that knack. And Deonta Foreman, when he's been healthy, it's hard for him to stay healthy, but when he's healthy, he was an elite prospect. If I'm not mistaken, he was a 5-star at Texas. And like his career has just been shattered with injuries, but man, he was really good for that Panthers team last year. So I would be in fairness, I would be excited.
With a good run blocking O-line, I think Foreman and Herbert's good at like yards after contact, whatever that stat was, like yards after initial contact, he was right up there, top of the league. So I do think they're going to be able to run the ball. You get that play action going. I think there is some optimism for the offense. To me, the defense, they did some stuff, but I still think kind of behind the 8 ball overall. TJ in the chat again, Packer fan, bringing a lot of notes for the Bears preview. But have you, Justin? I'm assuming you saw this as a Bears fan. Offensive tackle Darnell Wright accidentally prepared for the conditioning test for wide receivers, so he came in like amazing shape. he instead of doing, they must have sent a doc that had all like O-line conditioning, receiver conditioning, did the receiver conditioning.
Something my daughter would do.
So, you saw that story, Justin?
I did, and Coach Flus said that he didn't even break a sweat doing the offensive line conditioning test because he prepped for the receivers. So
might be a little light.
Any chance they're tipping their hand there with some possible tackle eligible plays?
Maybe that's a good idea. I hadn't thought about that, but for sure. And always fresh, never soggy, not to bury the lead here and jump right to gambling, but said Bears on the list of a rush touchdown each game at plus 7,000. I've already taken that bet. Highly recommend it. They had 11 games out of 17 last year, 6 of the last 9. And this team is built to run. That's what they're going to do. Run it down your throat. So
I assume you're scribing that, Sean, right?
Yeah. Because again, these are, I'm not going to say a sucker bet because it's 70-1. So we know what we're getting into because it's essentially a 17 game parlay, 17 leg parlay.
Probably not the best odds. I like it.
They're always going to get one rushing touchdown, right, Justin?
No, this just means
it feels like it.
You know what this is? This is showing.
I like it.
This is showing that our audience is reading all the fine print.
Yeah.
Legends only.
You're getting in the book, and you're like just like water. You're finding all the deep cracks to look into.
So kind of before we hop into the schedule here, a couple notes. 13 days net rest difference, positive there for the Bears, second largest in the league. 6 easiest schedule via just the win total. So I do think so. I think there is some regression stuff, and you would expect that with a 3-win team. I do think the schedule is more favorable. The issue is it feels like it's priced into the number, right? Like Chicago is one of 6 teams since 2000 with an over/under win total of 4.5 wins more than they won the prior year, and only 2 of those 6 teams went over. Now, and most of those situations where there was a 4.5 win difference, it was because of a major QB injury. But let's
okay,
talk.
yeah. So I have that nugget actually, like that. Okay. Like there's only been I think 3 instances of this over the last 20 years that involved this type of adjustment without, like you're describing, a critical change to quarterback, whether brand new quarterback or injury of starting quarterback. So that's interesting too, because not only that, but we're basically getting the whole staff. There's actual continuity here, which is generally a little bit different when you see this kind of reaction. I think. I don't know. I guess again, like I will concede that the Bears did upgrade their offensive situation has been upgraded.
Yeah.
Whether or not the processor can take advantage of it, that's another question. But what I will also say is they did not upgrade their ability to get after the quarterback, only 20 sacks last year, and they did not upgrade their secondary. And so what the hell is that?
How can you say that? We got Tyreek Stevenson in the 2nd round out of Miami.
There you go. What do you expect out of Tyreek Stevenson, Justin?
I actually think he's going to win that cornerback 2 job. They're going to be able to move Kyler Gordon back into kind of the nickel back, which he excels better at. So, I mean, to me, I think that we did improve that defensive backfield. And yeah, I mean, of course, I am a hopeful fan. I've gone to bat for guys like Mitch Trubisky, Jay Cutler. I've argued so much over Jay Cutler. So take it for what it's worth, but yeah, I'm always a hopeful fan.
I like it. All right.
Any other big nuggets you want to get in before we start walking through this division?
I just think people are kind of underselling the improvements they did make. I know it's not huge names. I get it. But I think they have the right process, and Coach Flus really seems like a guy that the players love to play for. And I think that's important.
Saying Coach Flus does sound very intimate. I like that.
and Matt Eberflus, I do think has a good
Coach Flus.
Coach Flus does have a good situation for Coach of the Year, although the market agrees because he's second in odds for Coach of the Year at 11-1. I don't think there's a ton of value there. But again, when you only win 3 games the previous year to come up to 8 wins or 9 wins, that's Coach of the Year material right there. The win total set at 7.5. Make playoffs plus 172. Miss playoffs minus 190. Division 4-1. Conference 30-1. Super Bowl 60-1. Kramer, let's start talking schedule for the Chicago Bears.
Do they have better Super Bowl odds than the Giants? I mean, what are we?
They're right neck and neck, and
they do.
As
they
the
do.
chat's
what are we?
As
what are
the
we
chat's pointing out, they did go 0-6 in the division last year.
Yeah.
Which,
but you mentioned the net rest stuff. They do actually have 3 divisional games with a 3-day or more rest advantage. So maybe they can solve that. And I did before we started. I did one last thing. They had 4 games last year where they had the ball with less than 3 minutes, down only 1 score, and they all ended in turnovers. So, some of the 1 score luck, they shot themselves in the dick. That's my just tying a bow on that thesis. More hate towards the regression army. All right, Bears 2023, new year, not looking in the windshield anymore, Sean.
No,
not looking in the rear view, looking in the windshield. Packers to open the season. Imagine being a Bears fan and you're feeling good, and then you see that you're laying points against the Packers.
Road favorite. I mean,
you have to have like a nightmare reaction. Like, oh no, they're at home. They're at home.
Oh yeah, you're right.
But to be favored against the Packers, that's got a little shocking. Then you go right into a back-to-back road spot.
Well, and this is when you don't want to play the Bucks, right?
In
Week
Florida, at Bucks,
not prime time.
Be muggy. Also, tremendous strip clubs down there. Not sure how Justin feels about those types of establishments. Then you have at Chiefs, obviously a tough spot there. Although Chiefs did lose to the Colts early in the season last year with Matty Ice. Then you have the Broncos at home. Good to catch the Broncos at home and not on the road. Look, I guess they're favored in 2 of these games. The Bears as a road favorite in Tampa does not strike me as the correct situation.
That's a tough game. That's a tough game.
I you know what? I don't want to say J Mark. How are you feeling about this first 4?
Well, I will say if with Rodgers being gone, if the Packers come into town to open the season and we lose, it's going to be probably the most heartbreaking thing because the Bears are really feeling like this is ours now. This Bears Packers division
to finally get rid of Aaron Rodgers and now
and then lose to Jordan Love.
Jordan Love,
a lot of pressure. Then that feels like a tremendous amount of pressure.
Tremendous.
How many wins?
Well, I mean, even talking about in the Packers preview too, it is interesting because the Packers, what's their weakness is rushing defense, and that's the thing the Bears arguably do the best on their team. So
yeah, they should win.
It should be a good game. I had trouble picking it. I think with the Packers preview as well. But what do you got them going here, Justin? You can't say 3-1, can you?
I want to because I think they can take the Broncos. I think the Bucks are still going to be putting it together, whether that's Baker or Kyle Trask. So I actually like them to win that, whether it's hot or not. Lose to the Chiefs, obviously. That Broncos game is the one that I'm kind of on the fence, but new coaching staff. I don't know. I'm going to go 2-2. I think they lose to the Chiefs and Broncos back to back.
I mean, I know the Packers gave up a lot of yards on the ground, but Packers own the Bears until otherwise stated. And then you also have Bucks were a pretty good pass defense.
I think that's just a bad spot too.
The Chiefs are probably the worst defense this is a tough 1-3. Can they beat the Broncos?
Yeah. I think that's actually a good time to play the Broncos.
1-3.
Okay. You got them going 1-3. J Mark, you said 2-2, right?
Yep, and I'll take a drink for the hate on the Bears there, Kramer.
You're gonna put J Mark. You're gonna put J Mark in a coma here.
Hopefully, you don't have a lot of plans this afternoon.
Can I go 2-2 with this Bears team? They started out 2-1 last year, Ryan. There was some excitement early. They did do me a massive favor by beating the 49ers at 7-point home dogs. Yes. That was beautiful in that rainy game. Maybe we get some weather here to help them out. Can I say they win 2 games?
D Bettis says 2-2. TJ saying 0-4. Noted Packers fan, always fresh, never soggy. 2-2. Little ZD Mills 1-3 with me.
I'll go 2-2.
Okay.
Yeah, give me 2-2.
All right. Oh man. So TJ reminding us, he brought this up on the show with the Packers preview, but the Bears scored 29 total points against the Packers last year. Worth noting. A
lot of good nuggets. Unfortunately,
Aaron Rodgers not a great player last year. All right, then we moving along in the schedule. We have at Commanders, which there seems to be a decent amount of steam. And I'm going to save all the receipts of people who came after me, but it seems like the Redskins are back in play. 50-1. The odds have been taken off the board. Who knows? But at Commanders on Thursday night, Vikings at home, Raiders at home, and then you have the at Chargers on Sunday Night Football, which is the first leg of a back-to-back road spot. Obviously, a road Thursday night game is never good.
No, and
another defense that projects to be pretty good on both sides of the ball, like rush and pass. I just here's my question about the Bears: is will they be able to exploit defenses that are pretty bad against the pass, but can slow down the run?
Well, and again, the Chargers, their weakness is stopping the run. Now, obviously, they've done some stuff, and if you want, they've tried to address it. And if you're going to play the Chargers in Los Angeles, is the place to play. I mean, that'll feel like a Bears home game. J Mark, what do you have them going here?
3-1.
3-1. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I have them
the,
losing.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Who do you think they lose to?
I got them losing to the Vikings. I think they surprised the Chargers here.
Okay.
I think they're going to lose to the Vikings at home and take the Vikings when they're on the road.
I'm going to have them going 2-2. I do think they could surprise the. I'm with you, surprising the Chargers, and I think they can beat the Raiders at home. I think Thursday night is a tough spot. Now maybe they pull off the Vikings game because they have extra rest and they are at home.
Vikings spot is a sandwich. Vikings have Kansas City week 5, week 7 they have San Francisco. So definitely a sandwich spot for the Vikings. I kind of like the angle of taking the Bears in that spot. Also worth noting, the Chargers game comes in an opportune time for the Bears, as they Chargers will be coming off a stretch where they faced Dallas, then the Chiefs, they face the lowly Bears, and then they have Aaron Rodgers and the Jets in prime time. So another bit of a relative lull for a team's schedule. So honestly, with those two potential wins and the Raiders being, I guess, conservatively hot trash this year.
We are, every time the Raiders are on the schedule thing, I'm like, well, that's a loss.
Did I just get myself to 3-1?
Ooh, okay.
Is that possible?
But I'm also sorry. Did you just say the lowly Bears?
Yeah. The lowly, both teams.
I have
the
to
lowly
go back to
Raiders.
work after this, Kramer.
The lowly Raiders. I actually,
he's doing a sip every time.
I think he's finding reasons to get that glass hitting the lips.
It's getting thirsty.
All right, so
Ryan, even as a hater, you still got him 4-4 through the first 8. That's the thing. Is this is it's a weird team.
It's a nice stretch for him.
I think they got a little bit better. I think regression's a little bit more towards their favor. I mean, they could win 5 more games than they did last year and just barely get over that 7.5. So the interesting team. 4-4 feels about right. Like, we're not buying too much into the hype, being somewhat realistic here. J Mark got him 5-3. Even a Bears optimist is stretching it to go 6-2 here. But what about the next quadrant, Ryan?
All right, next quadrant we have so again, back-to-back road spot here at Saints, probably less home fans than in Los Angeles at SoFi. Then you have the Panthers on Thursday Night Football
Good
at
spot.
home. You have at Lions and wow, two cats.
Does it work for both of them? I think it does.
And at Vikings on Monday Night Football. 3 road games out of 4 here. So essentially 4 road games and a 5-game stretch heading into their week 13 bye. That's brutal. That's probably going to be a hold on and survive. I have them winning that Chargers game. I'm not sure they get another one of the road games. So I'll go 1-3.
Okay. 1-3. J Mark, what are you doing here? There are 3 road games in this quadrant. But you look at the look ahead spreads. I mean, they're 5.5 point dogs against the Lions. I don't necessarily agree with that line. And to that point too, like, I think they match up, their offense matches up good against the Lions defense, because the Lions defense has trouble stopping the run as well. I mean, you saw what the Panthers did to them last year, but then on the flip side, I do think the Bears defense on the road in Detroit, they could be Jared Goff might have some fantasy points there that week. So
Detroit is the week they play. Detroit is the week before Thanksgiving. Worth noting, but they will be coming off a Thursday night game. So mini bye. Again, there's some rest edge stuff here for them, but I think those are just 3 tough road games for them.
So you got them 1-3 there, Ryan, right?
1-3.
Okay. I'm going back and forth here between 2-2 and 1-3. I'll hear J Mark's case before I make my decision.
Yeah, I'm going to take 2-2. I like him to take both division games. I mean, Kirk Cousins Monday night. We know how he looks in prime time.
That's right.
Come on. I don't care if it's in Minnesota. I think the Vikings, I think Vikings will beat us at home and we'll beat them on the road. I think we're going to split with them and the Lions. So 2-2 here.
That's classic division knowledge, Ryan.
Well, they didn't split last year, but I'm with J Mark.
They didn't split anything last year.
I'm with J Mark. I think it's Packers sweep them and they split the rest. Okay, so now that I've realized the Vikings game is in prime time, I think they could win that, and then I think they can beat the Panthers at home on Thursday night. You got to get that win. So I'm going 2-2. Okay. Obviously the Cousins prime time is a big swing for me. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Kramer, last 5.
He's gotten better in prime time for the record. All
last
right,
five, going into the last five.
Coming off that bye.
You're 5-7. I'm 6-6. J Mark 7-5. Kind of as I'd predict.
I feel like I went a little high in the middle section. I'm starting to maybe have me be 2-2 in the middle section, please.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
So you're taking away your 3 and 1.
We'll see how it goes. You don't have to touch it yet. Okay. All right, last 5. Lions at home. Again, that should be outdoors. Positive situation for the Bears. At Browns, that's going to be a really tough game for them. Then you have Cardinals, Falcons, both again 2 more dome teams coming up to Chicago in the cold, and then at Packers. I think they lose the road games. I think they win against the Lions. Kyler could be back, but I think I'll give him 2 there.
Yeah, I mean
2 and 3.
They're playing 3 dome teams. Or sorry, yeah, 3 dome teams at home in December or late November. Like that is a dream scenario if you're a Bears fan.
Yeah. Winnable games.
Very very winnable game. So you're going 3-2, Kramer.
Falcons are more of a cold weather identity team. A lot of alphas. You said I just can't stop looking at Matt Collins.
Matt Collins is a G. I was on that from day one. 3-2, Ryan.
2 and 3.
2 and 3. Okay, so 2 and 3. What about you, J Mark? Last 5 games. What do you think here?
Yeah, everybody's gonna mute me for this, but 4-1. I am not a believer in the Browns this year at all. I'm not a Deshaun Watson believer.
Yeah, it is a good time to finish.
You have to know when to come.
Oh, sorry. And Deshaun Watson, obviously, finishing a touchy subject there.
Wow.
But yeah, 4-1. So who's the loss to?
I was gonna say the Lions, but I think I already said they were gonna split with them, so I have to switch that. But let the loss to the Packers. We'll say the Packers.
There you go. That's normal.
Closing out the season in Lambeau.
That feels right.
All right, so I'm sitting at 6-6 here. Do I go 3-2 and be 9-8 on the Bears?
Just gross.
I'm gonna go 2-3. Because I don't think they're quite. I think the Bears are kids, who get held back a grade. It feels like that's what happened with this Bears team, right? Like they were supposed to make that jump last year to get up to 8-9. That's what I predicted. This is the year they get jump up to 8-9. I do like the over at 7.5. I don't know. I guess it's probably not one of my favorite win totals. But I'm going to go over 8.5 wins. Ryan at 7-10. You're on the under.
So I'm 7-10, but you didn't switch the 3-1 stretch to 2-2. Switch that to 2-2.
Okay, so you're going to be 6-11.
But then I think maybe I need to upgrade the end of the season to 3-2.
Okay.
So
still
7-10.
So a lot of movement just to get back to 7-10.
That was as optimistic as I could get.
Okay. And
by the way, Browns backup quarterback, maybe Watson isn't the guy. Josh Dobbs. We love Josh Dobbs. He's going to space. He's throwing the football.
I do think for me, 9-8, I would say their ceiling for this Bears team, I think is 10-7.
You're not taking the over.
What do you mean?
You're taking the over?
Yeah, I'm on the over.
He's a smart better.
You sit in the office with me every day. I highlighted all the reasons why this team didn't solve their defensive woes.
It's close, but I do think they get. Honestly, it just comes down to that last final stretch. Those 5 games, they could be coming into the season. Those last 5 games, they could have 5 wins, even 4 wins, and go like they seem like a team that is going to not have a great most of the season, but those last 4 or 5 games, dude, I mean, at home against the Falcons, the Cardinals, it just sets them up to get over 8 wins. I have them barely getting over. Obviously you like the over here. J Mark, what about the division, the conference? How high are you on this Chicago Bears team?
I already placed a bet for them to win the division.
Nice.
Okay. So you got the Bears plus 400 to win the division. We also are all co-signing Bears getting a rushing touchdown every game at 70-1. That's
get me off that one.
Really?
Get me off that position.
Okay.
So,
all right, Ryan, shorting that. Ryan, as someone who's a hater, do you have any sort of negative Bears bets that you think are worse?
Well, so all right, so is there a version of this season where they get away from Justin Fields? PJ Walker's the backup. Because if not, I do kind of want to look at his interception props. Because I do think they're gonna. I believe they want to have him throw the ball more, and I also believe that he's not going to be getting better at throwing the ball. His total is at 10.5. 10.5 interceptions, but I guess the wonky long shot angle is purely what if they do try to throw the ball a lot and he throws the most interceptions in the league this year?
Okay, what's that price?
30-1.
Okay.
Give me Justin Fields most interceptions.
I mean, what was the stat you had? Like led the
fourth
league
most turnover worthy plays.
Fourth most turnover worthy plays.
He really has. I mean, they're not going to replace him.
Well, and again, if you don't think the defense is improving much, I think it's improved a little. But
teams are going to be able to score a lot of points on the Bears.
Well, and then they're going to be playing from behind. That obviously sets you up for a bunch of pass attempts, which again, why I think he's interested in fantasy. Interceptions don't necessarily hurt you that much. I do like some of these fun division only bets, like division leaders. Now you're looking at the NFC North division leaders. Obviously, Justin Fields is the favorite at plus 250, which is kind of crazy. A quarterback would be that. So let's say they scale back the Justin Fields running just a little bit. And let's say, maybe Deonta Foreman gets banged up a little bit, whatever. But Khalil Herbert, all those advanced stats that we liked about Khalil Herbert, the Bears offensive line, which is a good run blocking line. They have a decent season. Herbert gets a few more carries than people think. What do you think Khalil Herbert is just to lead the NFC North, Ryan?
Is he 10-1?
60-1.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, Khalil Herbert makes
sense.
Yeah.
Most rushing yards, NFC North 60-1.
Is that because Detroit and Green Bay have potentially timeshares?
So here are the other guys: Aaron Jones, Aaron Jones 350, Madison 350. Which, again, is he? He filled in okay for Dalvin Cook, but is he going to be the workhorse? David Montgomery plus 450, AJ Dillon plus 700, Gibbs, Jahmyr Gibbs, a rookie, 10-1. Deonta Foreman's 20-1. Khalil Herbert 60-1. I get why people are lower on him, but it's 60-1. That feels
Herbert
crazy.
Shouldn't have worse odds than Foreman.
Roshan Johnson's 100-1.
What's
again,
Fields?
He's the favorite at plus 250. So in this scenario,
the best running back in the division.
In this scenario, they run Fields slightly less. All the advanced stuff on Herbert comes true. That offensive line pushes people around. But it's a fun long shot. Fun little pizza bet there. What about you, J Mark? Any other fun player props? I will be giving out some Robert Tonyan anytime touchdown, first touchdown stuff at some point this season. I don't know when. There's no prices. The Robert Tonyan market has not hit the books yet. But
do you want to? But you're definitely going to be firing on him.
The fact that he's the second tight end makes his price. It's going to be insane. His first touchdown against the Packers, revenge game, dude. Coaches go out of their way to do that. When former player,
it's like a hit.
Dude, he's going to be like 40-1 for first touchdown.
It's like a hit radio station DJ.
I just play the hits.
Playing all the hits.
I mean, come on, Robert Tonyan's going to get a touchdown, and we're going to cash in. Kramer, J Mark. Any other props you like? For your Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I'm taking over receiving yards and receiving touchdowns for Cole Kmet. I know Kramer mentioned. Yeah, I know Kramer mentioned he got overpaid, but really after this year, in the next 3 years, they only owe him $12 million. So that's pretty easy to cut if they need to. And if you really
wait, you already want to cut him?
No, I'm just saying it's a very team friendly contract because they got the money this year. And so he feels like he's getting paid. But after this year, if things aren't working out and it looks like he's not going to be their guy, they can cut him without losing too much.
Okay.
Now, what about what are the price on those two there? The receiving touchdowns and receiving yards.
I think they're the minus 110. Last I looked, I thought he was
like how many? Do you know what the number is
for touchdowns? I think it was 6.5.
Okay.
Might have been 5.5, but I think it was 6.5. In receiving yards, I think he was at 550.
All right. Justin, either way, you're in on the Cole Kmet train.
Justin Fields MVP 18-1. Are you buying?
Me? No.
Justin?
I want to say yes, but no, I'm not going to. Yeah, I just can't. I didn't even mention it. The other thing I like that they did was bring in PJ Walker because I think he can win you games if Fields gets hurt, which
Oh,
we know with
wow.
these running quarterbacks, they miss games.
Yeah.
Much better replacement than Trevor Siemian. He fits the offense better. He fits the scheme better. And I think he can win you a couple games if he has to.
Oh boy. All right, he's hurting Justin Fields. He's trading Cole Kmet, cutting Cole.
I know
Kmet.
we don't bet on injuries, right?
He's
Oh, we
yeah.
do.
I mean, Justin's a realist. You know, he dealt with that 93 million dead cap. He's already looking at the future, going, "All right, this deal might not be great. So yeah, crash, scrap this."
I do think there is I if you believe Ryan Poles is the guy, which he's had a couple questionable decisions, but
Okay.
if you believe he's the guy, it does seem like they're objectively going to be a better team this year than they were last year, and they should be on the right path. But I just don't. I mean, 3 wins to 7.5. That should be a bigger story. I'm not seeing.
Yeah,
the
no,
headlines.
it is. Yeah, well, we're making headlines here today, Ryan. ZD Mills trying to find a price on them to go 0-6 in the division again. The only real difference, he says, is DJ Moore. Is he worth 6 wins? Kramer, where did you get the league leading interception? What outlet?
That was DK.
Okay, because Black Kirk Cousins is saying he saw it as 9-1 on FanDuel. So shop around.
Really?
there.
I'm looking at it right now. He's 30-1 to lead the league in intercept. So you're saying we should get down on that right now live?
Ooh,
That one makes. I mean, again, maybe they're going to pass more. Maybe he'll progress, or maybe he won't. The other thing you should look for is Bears to give up the most points. I think that's still.
Are you adding that to your card officially, Ryan?
I don't have a price for you, so I wouldn't feel good about putting it on there. But yeah, if you can find a Bears to give up the most points, I like it. Look at they play the Vikings and the Lions a couple. There's going to be some NFC North shootouts this year, Sean. Bears will be on the wrong side of them.
I don't think I can do pods with Ryan anymore. Sorry.
I'm rooting for you though.
I'm rooting for you.
As the hopeful fan, the one thing I can say about their defense, do they have a ton of huge names? No, probably not. But Coach Flus has said they're going to lean even more into that cover 2 that almost mirrors Lovie Smith's. Edmonds is going to play the Mike like Urlacher did. Is he Urlacher? No, he's not. But Edwards is going to play the Will. And I just think there's a scenario where they fit into that bend, don't break. I think teams are going to be able to put up a lot of yards, but inside that 20, they're really going to crack down on them. Again, that's the hopeful fan coming at you, but just reading into
bend, don't break.
That's right.
I like it. I like your optimism.
Reading into it. Like, I just feel like they're going to be able to mirror that a little bit. It's not the same team. They don't have the same playmakers, but those teams that Brian Urlacher was on, they didn't have any like dominant pass rushers either, but they were still a really good defense.
For the record, I was a massive Lance Briggs guy. I can be a Bears fan when they don't.
Peanut
suck.
Tillman, great guy as well. Great Bear. All right, time for everyone's favorite part of the show, where we announce our MLD, aka most likely DGen, aka a hypothetical player we might think will get busted for gambling on the NFL while being in the NFL. Ryan, do you want to start?
I'm happy to start.
Okay, who do you
I
got?
hope I don't take anyone.
Because I'll be pissed if you pick.
Not
mine.
only is this guy, we already discussed him. He was
not on my list.
Topic of situation where he was part of a bad trade.
Ooh,
he goes by an amazing nickname, Mapletron.
Love that name.
And if you remember last year, there was a moment. It might have been 2 years ago, where he was celebrating a victory. It might have been his first touchdown. I don't know what it was, but he was celebrating a victory with his teammates on the Steelers. And I believe it was one of the grown ass men on the defensive line was passing around lippers, and he threw in a lipper for the first time. So he's willing to try new things.
#DeGen
While being interviewed by the reporters, that he kind of was like, "This is some loud shit, guys. I need some space. I might throw up here."
It's a great clip.
So if you're willing to try that in a locker room with cameras rolling, you're influenceable by your teammates. Well, I have a feeling this is a team based in Chicago. Gambling's legal, commonplace. Chase Claypool is going to find himself into a dicey situation. Here's the problem. Chase Claypool also dumb enough. We highlighted this, right? He took a lipper that he had never tried before with live cameras rolling, and so influenceable, also dumb. How do you not know as a grown man who played football your whole life that shit will fuck you up?
It'll put you on your
and
ass.
you took a defensive lineman size wad into your lip. So I am going off of purely judging this book by that one cover. I'm going to say Chase. Not only that, but for receivers, it could be a good move. I mean, Calvin Ridley is coming back. Everyone's thinking of how sexy he looks. Wide receivers don't go out of style.
Hey, all of a sudden, you get a bigger deal.
Yeah, so
no wear and tear on your legs.
Get in a couple parlays.
Yeah,
call it a vacation. Come back, be the sexy girl. Chase Claypool, MLD.
Justin. First off, what can people expect from the Old Fashioned Football Podcast? What can they expect when they subscribe to that? Assuming they haven't already subscribed.
Yeah, we're talking fantasy football year round. In the off season, we get prepped for auction drafts, and then during the season we do waiver wires, and then throughout all year we're drinking whiskey, doing whiskey reviews. We've had distillers on to kind of talk about their process. We've had distillers on talking about their favorite football team, and we're running a listener league, and one of the distillers we had on from Keeper's Heart, she's actually going to be in the league because she's in an all women's fantasy football league and wanted to try auction leagues out. So just come for the football, stay for the whiskey.
No, I love that tagline.
Great slogan. Who are you nominating for MLD here?
Well, Kramer stole mine. But that's okay.
You should have let the guest go first.
That's okay. I was also going to add, he's in France doing his fashion shows. He's a guy that likes the look at me type of thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that might even buy into that more. So just as a backup, I was going to say Cole Kmet because he got paid. Might as well spend some of that cash.
Or he's got a lot of money.
And he's dating and his sister's dating a Packer.
Yeah. Or third string quarterback Nathan Peterman. Just because.
So that now I'm going to stop you right there because I am pounding the table for Nathan Peterman to be the MLD for the Chicago Bears. How do these guys get busted, right, for gambling? Outlier behavior. What is the most outlier of outlier behavior than by throwing 5 interceptions in one half of a football game? If that isn't a red flag that the fix is in, that you might be partaking in something. Nathan Peterman, all in on him again. I watched the highlights or lowlights of this 5 interception performance. It's in one half. The fact that they kept him in for that entire half was cruel. But if you tried to throw 5 interceptions intentionally, it would be tough to do a better job than what Nathan.
Another moment where the NFL was trying to hold Tyrod Taylor down.
Yeah, exactly. And next they're going to stab him with a needle so that they can give Justin Herbert a shot. Hashtag free Tyrod.
Yeah, lots of questions here.
So Nathan Peterman is of course my MLD. Recapping the bets, Kramer's got him going 7-10. I'm 8-9. J Mark 11-6. I like Khalil Herbert to lead the NFC North in rushing at 60-1. That's a fun long shot. Rush touchdown every game, 70-1. Me and J Mark are on that. We're both over on the over 7.5. Kramer obviously on the under. Also throwing out Fields' most interceptions, 30-1 for Kramer, and J Mark likes the over on receiving touchdowns and yards for Cole Kmet.
Anything else to add?
No. I
got one more thing. One more thing to add.
Got?
So these fantasy football sites, such as Sleeper and whatnot, they're a little like the books where they're predicting how things are going to be. Right? Justin Fields is currently the 4th projected quarterback as far as points. So read into that as you will, but I think they're expecting not only for him to run as well, but also pass a little bit more and have success there.
The fantasy community's high on Justin Fields, just like they were high on Trey Lance. Just like they'll be high on the next guy that.
Well, I mean, Justin Fields was really good at fantasy last year.
Anthony Richardson.
I was never high on Trey Lance, just for the record. This fantasy community was not.
Well, Justin Fields, like that was the perfect storm, right? Horrible defense and willingness to not give a fuck.
Yep.
That's what you need.
That's all you need. Hey, make sure you give J Mark a follow on Twitter at JMarkFootball. Love that he's got football right there in the name. Subscribe to the Old Fashioned football podcast, whiskey, fantasy. What more could you want? Of course, subscribe to our podcast if you haven't already. Toss us nice 5-star rating review. Sign up for our Patreon, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. Do your part in the war against corporate gambling.
Thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
For the Sports Gambling Podcast, I'm Sean, stacking the money green, and he's Ryan.
It is August, which means draft day is almost here. Couple weeks, August 17th, 24 hours. J Mark will be there. Check it out.
Kramer, let it ride.